So today is a follow-up on the last 2 weeks where we've been talking about lower back muscle tension and how to release it. So last week I showed a technique, and this week I'm going to show another technique which is kind of the opposite. It's quite different but extremely effective. So it's going to involve an exercise ball or a Swiss ball, and this is a medium-sized one, but you can use the large or the small size. It doesn't really matter. We're going to be laying over the top of it, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just relax our lower back muscles, and then we're going to add an active component to this to turn it into a neuromuscular retraining exercise for the body to be able to perform a functional movement without those lower back muscles firing so much. So the goal is to get them to be a little less overactive. And so let's start with the relaxation part. You can just start on your hands, on your knees, and then you're going to get the ball right in position with your mid-abdomen area, and so that it's just kind of pushing up right on your lower back muscles. And you're going to just fully relax. And breathe. And I can really feel my lower back muscles just letting go right now. That's the feeling that I would describe it as. They're just letting go. As I breathe, the ball is helping to push my breath, the expansion of my breath, into my lower back and further relax and expand those muscles, giving them a little bit of a stretch. And this is something that we learn in the core balance training program, except we're learning how to use our own abdominal muscles and our core to perform that type of breathing technique. But if you're having trouble feeling that, then you can use a tool like the ball to help send that breath backwards into your lower back and get that relaxation. So once again, this is the relaxation portion. The breathing is a huge component, and then the ball is just helping to let those muscles go, and if they're holding on tight, they can just kind of release slowly. And you can do this for 5 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes. I'm not going to go that whole time for demonstration purposes, but you can go as long as you feel you're making progress with relaxing those muscles. The next component is going to involve, you're going to kind of push away from the ball with the bottom of your rib cage. If you're in the program, we call that the front anchors push away, and also the pubic bone. And you're going to get a little better posture, and you're going to try to use your upper back muscles, not the lower back muscles. So we're going to try and maintain this relaxation that we gained and do the front anchors, the upper front anchor push away with the upper back muscles. Keep those lower back muscles soft. And you're going to kind of roll forward onto your pubic bone. And now we're going to connect that lower front anchor, the pubic bone, to the ball. And this is the functional movement training. So I've got my hands stabilizing me so I'm not out of balance. Trying to maintain that lower back relaxation that I just developed through the breathing and the hanging over the ball. And then we're going to add some hip extension. And the goal is to keep that pubic bone connected and pushing away from the ball so that it becomes the fulcrum, and your lower back muscles are above the fulcrum so they can stay relaxed. And your glutes and your other hip extensor muscles are the ones doing the work for this motion. And this is an extremely important motion for life, for walking, for most functional movements. You need to be able to do hip extension. And what tends to happen is the lower back muscles tend to take over and become the primary muscle group that's involved in all these movements. And so we're trying to regroove new healthy movement patterns, and by letting those lower back muscles perform some of the work, but the other muscles can play more of a part. So the lower back muscles are able to let go a little bit and just kind of turn down the volume on their intensity. So this is the movement retraining portion. I'm practicing hip extension. And if you need to do another round of relaxation so that you can, just go through another round and get those muscles to relax again, and then try this again, feel free to do that. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that this functional movement can be used as a regression of the front anchor's push away if you're having trouble with that. And so it's actually a little bit easier to be able to do this motion, which is very similar with the ball, and be able to keep those lower back muscles relaxed throughout the motion. So that is the technique for today, and I'll see you in the live stream portion with the live Q&A. Hello everyone. So it's my understanding that there's a little bit of freezing going on with the video. So if that's happening for you, apologize about that. We may be having some internet issues related to the huge storm that just came through this area. So that's my only thought, because usually our internet's really strong and it's not working very well today. And we just had, Santa Barbara was like the center of that atmospheric river that many of you have possibly heard about. So just want to apologize about that. I'm not really sure if that's the case, and if I'm freezing right now for you, I don't know if there's anything I can do. So that's where we're at with this, but hopefully you were able to kind of just make out what the flow was about, and we'll try to publish that again in a better format once we get this situation fixed. So why don't we get into an announcement I just wanted to make. If you guys are in the program, or if you are in, say, like early in the program in the free trial, another issue that we had this week was with the emails, and I just wanted to let you guys know that that's been handled, and everything should be back on track with you getting your daily emails. There has been full access to the lessons and everything in the program throughout this whole process, but there were 2 days there where the daily emails did not send out, and that was related, actually, I believe, to what Kajabi is telling us is related to the time change. And our emails were scheduled to send out at 2 a.m. Pacific time, and with the daylight savings time change, there was no 2 a.m. On Sunday. And then on Monday, for some reason, the same thing happened, but it seems like they got that under control. So lots of tech stuff this week. I guess the whole world starts to fall apart in California when we get any kind of weather. So we got to get our stuff together. I see a question in the chat from Sven. Any way to watch low back release number 1? Yes. Number 1 was last week, so you can always watch the live streams replay. And so all you got to do is go to the Core Balance Training channel, and you can it should be under live if you click the live button tab or something, category. And then you go down and it should be the most recent one. Today will be the most recent one, but last week's will be just before that. So you can definitely watch last week's. I think it was pretty similar to back anchor progression from the program, but just a little more tailored towards the relaxation component of those lower back muscles. So good question. And yeah, thanks for sending that link to him, Asti. So can anybody tell me, is my volume okay? And am I still freezing? Is the screen still freezing intermittently? That would be good to know, because it's hard to tell from my end, but I got some reports that it was happening, from on other people's ends. So let's get into, while I wait to hear from you, let's get into the next section of the stream. And
that will be announcing the Student Hub Student of the Week. So this is for this week, Tawny Kemp. So congratulations, Tawny. You are the Student Hub Student of the Week. Thank you for being an active member in the Student Hub. And your commitment has been inspiring to me and also hopefully to other students. I've said many times it is the number one factor for success in the program. The program can only possibly be half the solution, and the other half is that you actually do it. So we're proud of you, and we're going to add a month to your membership. So you have to do nothing, and we'll just add an extra month from our end. And yeah, thank you for being an inspiration, Tawny. I'm going to take a quick look into the chat before we get into the live Q&A portion. And I see a message from Ivor Collins. Really enjoying the program so far. Just finished week 1 and I can bridge 3 to 4 minutes. Should I redo week 1, the back anchor portion, to get more solid, or should I continue on to week 2? That's a fantastic question, Ivor. So ideally, the best scenario is you absolutely feel like you've mastered module 1 and module 2 before you move on. So with the way the program is sorted, you have, the membership is 3 months. The free trial is an extra week on top of that. So you have 3 months and a week, which is like 97 days. The actual amount of lessons to go through the program is 75 days. So you have a good 3 weeks of space, of cushion to spend more time in certain areas of the program. And I do highly recommend using most of that to work on module 1 and module 2. I think redoing module 1 is one of the best things you could do. You could redo it 3 times actually and still continue to get more and more out of it each time. So I love that question. Thank you for asking, and I hope other students can benefit from that as well. Another couple messages. Ryan Murphy says, looks and sounds good. Video is working great for me. Slight freezing, but fine. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Let's get into the Q&A portion. So we'll go back to the slides here. And this is first question from Ryan Murphy. All right. Who's here live? So just learned I have re-herniated my L5S1. Should I continue on with the program? Next part of your question is, also, would you recommend surgery for a fusion or stenosis surgery to widen the nerve tunnel? Or do you think this program can make it all better? I'm only just beginning the front anchors. Okay, so thank you for that background, Ryan. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and start with your second question. A spinal fusion has a pretty low success rate. And I'm not going to get into the exact numbers, but it's the type of risk that I wouldn't gamble on it. And so if there's a situation where someone can avoid a fusion and move on with their life, then that's the route I would take. Now there are scenarios where a fusion is absolutely necessary. And, it's your life will be better off getting the fusion than if you don't, regardless of the statistics. So that's a question to be answered for you. But if you're able to do exercises, if you're able to do the things that can help you get better without the fusion, then that's the route I would take. So, and then stenosis surgery typically is fusion, or potentially if it's like central canal stenosis, which is a very severe condition. I don't think that would be something that if you're, on the younger side, it's not going to be, you're probably not a candidate for something like that. It's a very intense type of surgery. So, most people have lateral stenosis or foraminal stenosis, and so there's not really a whole lot of surgeries for that beyond fusion or disc replacement. So that's part 2 of your question, and let's talk about part 1. So should I continue with the program? With a setback, and I've done multiple streams on setbacks, the best approach I recommend is to take 1 or 2 days off. No more than 3 days off, and just do light activity, things that you can tolerate, things that not try and make progress, right? So you're just trying to let the body calm down, the inflammation cool down. And after that period where, okay, the inflammation's cooled down, 2 days, 1 or 2 days is optimal, then I would recommend you don't do nothing, because you'll continue to get worse. The muscles get weak. Atrophy begins after 72 hours of no activity. So you have to do something. And the module 1, the back anchor module and module 2 as well are extremely low intensity, low level activities that can help strengthen the core muscles, the deep core muscles, and support the spine. So typically when people have a setback, which happens, it's actually part of the game. It happens for everyone at different points in their journey. So in that sense, don't feel like you're alone. I've had many setbacks, and every student in the program has setbacks, and that's just the way the journey goes. Typically when that happens, I recommend go back to the basics. Go back to module 1. Re-groove those healthy patterns, that reset that core connection, because when the body goes into setback mode, it tends to go back into protection mode, fetal position, hip flexors tighten, lower back muscles tighten, and we have to reset that pattern from the beginning. And since you're already in module 1 and 2, I would say, just like the question in the chat, I would just start again from the beginning, and you've got time to do that. And that those low-level exercises are potentially the best thing you can do, because it's low impact, but connecting and strengthening those muscles so they don't become weaker. And then as you gradually climb out of that setback, then you can move up to slightly higher level activities. And that's the progress. This is a long game, and you want to look at it that way, as a long strategy, where you're not going to be able to do anything overnight and make significant progress. It's about making 1% progress per day, and that's fantastic, speedy progress. And I think that's why surgery is so appealing to people, because it feels drastic. It feels like you can make drastic progress in one day. But the reality is, even if you get surgery, you're going to have to go through an extensive rehabilitation program, and you're kind of starting over from zero. And even then, the success is not guaranteed. The only thing that's guaranteed is you've had, some serious either cutting or installation of hardware into your body, and those changes are permanent. So it doesn't mean that you're gonna have a miraculous change from before the surgery to after. So that's my take. Typically, just the general goal is to avoid back surgery if you can. And some people are at a point where it will be more beneficial, and that's for you to decide. So let's look at the chat again real quick, because I know you're in here, Ryan. I want to just see if you are commenting on what I'm saying. Have heard that about fusion surgery. Don't want to go there. Just need to know if this program will help with foraminal stenosis. Yeah, absolutely. Foraminal stenosis is one of the conditions that this program is specifically designed for. Is what I had, or probably still have. I don't get imaging on my spine anymore. I haven't had imaging in probably 10 years, because it doesn't matter to me anymore. But if you took a picture of my spine, I probably have moderate to severe stenosis, probably severe at L5, S1, and moderate at L4, 5, and L3, 4. And the stenosis is not the thing that makes you unable to live life normally. I'm able to live life as normal as anyone else with the stenosis. It's about being able to live with it, and not the fact that you have it or that you don't. There's strategies you can take, You can bring your body back into balance and stop the problem from progressing. And typically when the problem stops progressing and you reach like a homeostasis, the pain subsides as well, because pain is just a warning sign of danger and damage to come. If there's no more damage coming, you can get those warning signals to turn off in many cases. Not always. And that's when pain becomes more of a psychological thing that you need to treat. But you need to treat both the mind and the body in this kind of situation. Most of this is a mindset game. So let's see. And then you say empowering on with the program regardless, as it has been helping. Thank you. And they may not even be right about the foraminal stenosis. Yeah, for sure. I would say I would actively decide that they might be wrong, and that they did not determine your fate with a diagnosis. There's a lot to be said about ignoring a diagnosis. This is not a blanket statement for all diagnoses, but certain chronic lower back pain conditions, to be able to say that's not going to stop me, I'm going to keep going with my life, can be a powerful thing. So yeah, I support that. Another question in the chat: is it okay to do other workout exercises, press-ups, pull-ups, planks, while in the early stages of this program? So Ivor, if you were doing that before, then you can continue, and yes, it's okay. The only thing I would say is to begin to apply the things that you're learning in the program, the core connections, to those activities as you're doing them. If you were not doing those things beforehand in a routine type basis, then I wouldn't start doing them with the program, because that'll be too many changes in your life, too many activity changes. And if you're experiencing benefit or not benefit, like maybe you've gotten sore from certain things, you won't know which of the things are causing what. And so you don't want to make too many changes. So just my recommendation is to continue what you were doing before, add in the program, and then you'll have that knowledge that, okay, I'm getting better, and the only thing I changed was that I added the program. And I'm going to start implementing, this is movement retraining for daily life, so I'm going to start implementing the program concepts to my workouts. Okay, so I'm going to go into, I think there is a little bit more in the chat. And so I'm going to answer these two from Amanda, and then I'm going to go into our next prepared question from the students. So, and then I'll get back to the chat later in the stream. So Amanda says, interested in the program, but I have a bunch of stuff going on at once alongside some hypermobility in sacrolumbar area. Currently disabled despite having had a super active career. 8.3 millimeter anterolisthesis, L4-5, DDD. Okay. Yep, lots of things going on. I see that. I think the program would be safe for you? I do think the program would be safe for you. This is what I recommend for you, Amanda, is just try the free trial. It's free, so you can just sign up and get a taste of what it's like. It's extremely low level stuff, especially in the beginning. And so it would be less damage than, say, if you're sitting right now on the computer or sitting watching this stream. The stuff in the program is going to be less impactful, less damaging, less traumatic than just sitting, because we're getting the spine in just very healthy positions, and then we're adding core connection to those positions. And so generally people feel a lot of progress and improvement, especially in the first week. And then week 2 can be challenging for some people, but that's where a lot of breakthroughs happen if you can get past that challenge. And so that's what I recommend. Is definitely, I've read everything that you wrote about what's going on with your spine, and I do absolutely think it will be safe for you. And later in the program, when it gets into the functional movements, of course, if your spine or body is out of balance, if you have severe muscle imbalances, doing something like a squat can cause problems because the joints are not congruent, right? They might be off and there might be more friction going on there. But the goal by the program, the way the program is designed, is that you're getting your body back into balance and making progress as you go through it. And so by the time you get there, you're ready for that stuff. So that's kind of where your decision making and your judgment comes into play. And so I can't speak on like doing a deadlift and a squat because that's way later in the program and you're not ready for that. You're not there yet. But the first week, absolutely 100% safe. Give it a try, even with all the stuff you got going on. And I would actually suggest for hypermobilities and instabilities that this program is a very good approach for those things. Because that's what I had. I had instability, I had spinal stenosis, degenerative disc disease, and so it was kind of designed, for those problems to help myself. Okay, so I mentioned that I'm going to go back to the student questions after answering that question. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back to the chat intermittently, just because sometimes I never catch up to the chat, and then I don't get to these questions. So. Next question is from Janet. This was posted in the Student Hub, and she says, I'm doing this to help me after I have my right hip replacement done. I thought for years that my back was my problem, and I'm sure it is part of the problem, but my hip is the bigger problem. That's often the case, Janet. Yep. So the hips are obviously intimately connected to the lower back, and sometimes it's actually the hip, and that's causing problems in the SI joint, and which is often confused with lower back pain. So when I lie on my stomach, the right side doesn't go all of the way down. I'm assuming you're talking about your hip. Your right hip doesn't go all the way down. I can get my pubic bone on the floor, but having the right side up makes the lifting difficult. Okay. Should I wait until after my hip replacement to do the lifting, or are there variations I can try? So what it seems like to me, Janet, is you have some significant right hip flexor tightness, which is very correlated with hip problems and lower back problems. And so that's not allowing, your hip doesn't get into neutral. It doesn't get, I want to say your hip doesn't extend, but it's not even getting to zero. If we're talking about degrees, it's probably getting only, to say 10 or 20 degrees of flexion, and you need to get to zero to be able to lie flat. And then hip extension would be like -5 degrees and stuff like that. So that's probably what's going on. And I would say that the program one of the primary things it addresses is hip flexor tightness, is something that you should continue doing, because when you get that hip replacement done, is not going to change the hip flexor muscle. The surgery is on the joint, and the muscles around it, if there is an existing problem in those muscles, is most likely going to be a persisting issue. And you've just replaced the hardware that got damaged. Now with brand new titanium, it's going to be much more resilient for a longer period of time. But the problem that caused the damage to the hardware is not necessarily gone. And so you still need to address that. The hip replacement is probably going to be, it's a highly successful surgery, so it's probably going to be a great thing for you. But you still want to address the hip flexors that are, intimately related to lower back pain too. So you could potentially have both. So I would say, do what you can. You can get your pubic bone down, which is huge. And the lifting of the leg, or I don't like to use the word lifting, I like to use pushing away from the pubic bone, is going to be something that you can just continue to work on and gradually make 1 degree of improvement. Even if it's 1 degree per week, in 10 weeks, you've made 10 degrees, you got to neutral, and then you have full function of your hip again. Not full function, but much better function. And then you can go another 10 weeks and get full function of your hip. So see, the goal is minute increments of progress. And the bridge is also going to be very beneficial for you. And then your last question is, are there variations I can try? And actually, the flow that I demonstrated at the beginning of this stream will be perfect for you. So go ahead and rewind this stream if you haven't started from the beginning. Sorry about the skipping, but I guess the video was skipping a little bit. But that flow is going to be the perfect variation or modification to the front anchors for you, because it allows your hips to be in a little bit of flexion. So yeah, great question, Janet. Back to the chat. Let's just take a quick look. So Amanda, I know there's a lot of muscle imbalance issues. I have body work and yoga background, getting the impression your program is largely based on muscle imbalance, gait training, correction. Yeah, mostly muscle imbalance, restoring balance in the musculature through core connection. What I found is that as the center of the body gets more stable, it allows the more distal muscles to let go and relax, so they don't have to feel like they're protecting. So that's, I think, the primary benefit of the program. But then we apply the core connection to movement retraining. Yeah, gait training is one of them, but all movement. So we do a diverse amount of movements with that core connection, that anchor triad connection, so that you can go through life with your spine supported. So yeah, definitely. Ivor, yeah, I've been doing them for years, but I'll definitely apply the back anchor and breathing going forward. Thanks. Yeah, okay, good. Glad to hear, Ivor, you've been doing them for years, so totally okay to continue doing them. Darren says, I'm stuck on the front anchor. I tried the hip raise and it flared up nerve pain down my leg. If I have to spend several weeks to progress, it will be able to access later stage stuff at the end. Darren, if you had a flare up from the front anchors, I do recommend the modification that I showed at the beginning of this stream. I was just talking about it. So with the Swiss ball right there, that will allow you to kind of get the front anchors push away movement down without potentially flaring your back. So go back to the basics, go very slow, and that's your question is, will I be able to access the later stage stuff at the end? It is a membership program, so in the past we've had an alumni membership discount, and we kind of sometimes run that promotion and stop it for existing members if they need more time. So if you get to the end and money is an issue, reach out to our customer service, ask Asti or Melody, and ask about the alumni membership, and I'm sure they'd be glad to help you out, and that give you another 3 months at a really significant discount. So that will allow you 6 months to get through the program, which should be plenty of time. And if you get to the end of the 6 months and it's still an issue, then reach out again. We've got a great customer service department. So I say department, but it's a small team. So we're always happy to help, and we don't let money be an issue that stops people from being able to complete this solution. So hopefully that helps. Amanda, thank you so much. I'm 41, desperately trying to avoid spinal fusion. Yes, I love it. Only 41, you're young, you got so much more time to go. So yeah, I believe in you, Amanda. 100%. I believe you can do this. It sounds like you've got the motivation. So yeah, learning this type of functional movement with your spine supported should be very helpful for moving equipment and stuff on the if you still get back to the set building. Ellen Roll, hello, glad to see you and welcome. Do I feel SI injections can be helpful for instability and assist with continuing to progress with the program? Are you talking about prolotherapy, Ellen? If so, I've had prolotherapy injections in my SI joint, and it did seem to help with stabilizing the joint. So that's something that I would actually consider. I'm not going to say I recommend it. I would consider looking into it and doing research, and I'll just tell you from my experience, it seemed to be able to add a little scar tissue in and around those joints that helped me to stabilize my SI joint. But the other strategy is the SI belt, which is a little bit less invasive. And it does, if you've seen the SI belt video, that strategy can be very effective as well. So I recommend that. Michael Fleur on the treadmill at my PT right now. That's awesome to hear. Love it. Double time. So at PT and educating yourself. So that's a winning strategy. Lidocaine, no, Ellen. Steroid, no. Those aren't going to stabilize anything. Steroid in particular have shown in the research that if you get 3 or more steroid injections into the same area, it has shown in the research to weaken the tissues, and that would actually decrease stability. So I would recommend looking into prolotherapy or PRP. Prolo, it might be better though, because it's more of it creates the more inflammation response, which you want. PRP is more for healing and can be very beneficial, but not necessarily for stability. Okay, let's get back to the slides. We're going to go to the next question, which is from Tim, I believe. Yes, Tim. Just getting to the thoracic foam roll lesson in module 3. Feel my core muscles getting more control, doing well overall throughout the day, but consistently wake up in the AM with stiffness in the sacral area. Is there any particular suggestion for early morning stiffness? Stretching for flexibility and hamstring release has always been my go-to, but I'm learning that is not helpful. Early morning stiffness. I would take a look at your mattress, maybe a communication from your body that the mattress is too soft. I've done an entire stream on best sleeping everything, positions and how to go about that, depending, what position you sleep in. So you can go back. It's one of the early streams, so quality is probably not as great, but here I am today. We still had some quality issues. So yeah, so it's about the content, not the quality of the camera. Other suggestions for early morning stiffness, nothing really off the top of my head, but sleeping position, depending on what position you sleep in, mattress, and what you're doing in your day to day. The stiffness might be the body trying to heal throughout the night, and the stiffness could actually be a good thing. So when we say we work out and lift muscles and do bodybuilding type stuff, it's actually on the rest days where the soreness comes and the muscles build up stronger, and that's a good thing. That's what they want. So rest days are really important, right? So that might be what's happening with your body. So I could just look at the stiffness from a different perspective and say, well, I'm doing things, I'm making progress. Maybe my body's healing in the night, and the stiffness is okay. It's a result of that healing. So it's a possibility. So I would consider that option for you, Tim. Anything in the chat? Let me take a quick look. No rest. Yeah, that's right. Michael Fleur stopped at 2 steroid injections. Good job, Anthony, and good to know from Helen. All right, so we'll move on to the next question, which is from Daniel. That's right, Daniel. So, are standing desks for workplace environments recommended as part of this program? If so, is it also recommended to use as a balance board at the standing desk, I'm assuming? So this would fall into the category of the sitting stream that I did, and we turned it into a short, 8-minute video. So yes, standing is a great thing, but if you stand all day for 8 hours, it also becomes repetitive trauma, just like sitting. And so what I recommend for a standing desk is having the option to stand. So me right now, I can just stand up and I'm still at my desk, right? So that is what I call variety, and is the best thing for getting through a workday, for having to use a computer a lot, is being able to change your position frequently. And I've got probably, I don't know, 10 different ways that I can sit and stand. I just recommend watching the stream or the shortened video on sitting, where I show how all the different sitting strategies that I use. And then the strategy is variety, so that I'm not creating repetitive trauma and muscular imbalance related tension from trying to be in the same position for so many hours. So that's my answer. Yeah, standing is great, but just as one go-to throughout your day. So you can sit, stand. You have one of those desks you can change the height. Or for me, this desk is just kind of right in the middle of sitting on a taller chair and standing. And then a balance board, yeah. So that would be right in line with the strategy is getting that movement and that flow throughout your day. So definitely yes, Daniel. That's a great question. Moving on to the next one from Darren. I'm still doing the program daily, but I am stuck at the front anchor. I tried the progression into the leg raises while in the front anchor position, and it instantly flared up sciatic pain. My low back arch and pelvic tilt are still ways off from being able to progress further. Okay, so this is a common situation, Darren, that you may just need to turn down the intensity significantly with the front anchor. I just introduced a modification for the front anchor today in the beginning of this stream, so I would look into that. And the whole goal is to be able to learn that hip movement without the lower back muscles grabbing on and being overactive and causing the lower back to arch, pelvis to tilt anteriorly and potentially pinch that nerve, which is most likely the cause of the sciatic pain. So typically it's turning down the intensity from whatever you were at. If you were at 20% or 50%, turn it down to 1% or 2%. Just being able to lay in that position and breathe is a massive skill to learn without flaring your back up. And if you're not even there yet, then using the exercise ball modification from the beginning of this stream, and that'll be put into the program as soon as possible as well. So that's the recommendation. And if I don't know if you had an actual question there, but it's okay to go slow. The most of the benefit from this program is going to come from mastering the foundations, and there is actually no added benefit from going faster through them and to get to the later stuff. The later stuff will not benefit you unless you're confident with your core connections, your front and back anchor connections. So I'm glad you mentioned this, Darren, and hopefully that helps. Again, low intensity, especially if you're getting flare up. That's the rule. Turn it down even more. You flare it up again, turn it down even more. To the point where you don't flare up, and work in that range, and then build on that range. Be able to get 1% further without the flare up, and that's the progress that you're looking for. Little bits and pieces of progress. So I was in the wrong screen, but whatever. You guys got the point. I read what he was saying. So let's take a quick look in the chat. Chris Manhart, hello, good to see you. One of the core members showing up. What are my thoughts on kinesiology tape on the lumbar paraspinals? My paraspinals have remained extremely tight, hoping KT would help relax them. KT tape can offer a biofeedback to the body as a reminder. It's going to be best used as a short-term strategy. It would take somebody who is skilled in the taping technique. It's not just about like throwing the tape on. It's about the amount of stretch in the tape, the direction that the tape is pulling. And that's actually an entire field of physical therapy that you could go into and get continue to build your skills in. So that's not an area I specialize in, so I wouldn't be able to tell you how to tape it, but I know it's not like just the act of putting a cross on your back that's gonna do anything. It's more about the direction and the amount that the tape is pulling to provide some biofeedback to the body. if you were here from the beginning of the stream, Chris, I would consider checking out the flow that I showed. I think it's going to be really helpful to a lot of people. So I keep referring back to it because I think it's one of the things that's been needed in the program is a regression from the front anchors push away and to be able to relax those lower back muscles in a easier body position. So check that out, Chris, and let me know what you think. So we're going to go to, I see one more in the chat. So I'm going to do this last one in the chat and go back to the questions, the prepared questions. So Magnarita, I signed up for the program and just doing the back anchor made a huge difference. I have faith that what I learned from you will help immensely. Thanks for the program. Nancy, hey Nancy, great to hear. Welcome to the program. Really appreciate you sharing your progress just from the beginning, and that's why we do this. It makes me happy to hear that. So thank you, and keep up the good work. The daily commitment is the biggest factor to your success. So keep it up. Get down on the floor every day and do the things that have been working for you. Do more of them, and that's the recipe for progress. Do less of what's hurting and more of what's working. So back to the slides, we're going to look at a question from Emily. When I'm doing the isolated leg raises while prone, okay, we're doing front anchors again, here we go. I'm finding that this does not feel great in my SI joints. This is where my pain is at baseline, and back bending has never felt good or natural, even when I was doing a lot of yoga. It feels better to me to raise both legs at the same time during this exercise. Is this okay and still beneficial? My pubic bone is still anchored. Yeah, Emily, so this is a sign definitely of the SI joints because SI joints love symmetry and they are stressed through asymmetry. So it makes a ton of sense that lifting one leg at a time is a little more stressful on your SI joints than lifting both legs at the same time. I've done a whole video series on SI joints, so you can either watch the live stream, the OG live stream, which is like an hour and a half long, or we made it into 2 shorter videos, like 8 minutes long each. I believe it was 2, or maybe it was just 1, I don't know. Where I talk a lot, it was 2 videos on the SI joint. I talk a lot about this, the strategy, the symmetry strategy. But you eventually want to get to the point where you can do asymmetry because something like walking is asymmetrical. So we go through life with asymmetrical reciprocal motions. And so you want to be able to train up to that. But for now, to answer your question, yes, it's totally okay to stay with the symmetry until you get to the point where you've stabilized those joints. You're going to want to be doing the bridge. When you get to module 4, you're going to want to be doing the butt buster, that SI joint stabilizer bridge, every single day, and that's really going to help to stabilize it. And if you have a significant long-term problem with your SI joints, I would consider an SI belt as a strategy, and I highly recommend watching that SI belt video. That's the second video on the SI joints to see my strategy for using a belt and how to use it in the best way without becoming dependent on it. So hopefully that answers your question. And we're getting close. We got 3 more questions left, but I'll take a quick look in the chat. Lots of action in the chat today. Love it. So M47, I have shin splints. My doc said to me I must do core balance. Is it helping for shin splints? So it's awesome to hear that your doctor is recommending core balance training. So thank you to your doctor. I'm curious if you're willing to share your doctor's name. That's pretty awesome to hear that doctors are jumping on board. And so shin splints are they are strongly correlated to muscular balance. They're also a result of just excessive repetitive motion. And so if you're a runner or something else that is very repetitive, that could be contributing. But again, that doesn't answer the question why don't all runners have shin splints? Well, a lot of them do, but not all of them, right? And that's where the muscular balance comes into play, is how are you using your body? How are the tendons pulling repetitively on your bone, which causes the tendonitis and the shin splints? And so if you can improve the way that the body is functioning, the synergy of the muscles, so it's more evenly distributed around your body and there's not strong pressure points from overactive muscles and underactive muscles, then certainly, you can improve shin splints and continue to be able to do the activities that are also contributing to them, like, for example, long distance running. So that's the long answer. The short answer is yes, the program helps overall body muscular balance and posture. However, it's not directly targeting shin splints. That's not what the program was designed for. But it does tend to help those things. It definitely tends to help with knee pain, chronic knee pain, chronic hip pain, neck pain, upper back pain, and even shoulders as well. So those are kind of like, those are like the what do you call it when you take a medication and you have secondary effects? You know, they're like byproducts of the program. So I can't think of the word, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So great question, and hopefully that answers it. Manhard, you joined the stream a bit late. Okay, yeah, so definitely check out the flow at the beginning. Sorry, it's apparently a little skippy, but hopefully it's still legible. Sherry, glad to see you. About the Swiss bell, how inflated should it be? Let me just go show you. I don't know the poundage, but I'll push into it. So it's kind of like this. It's not fully 100% firm, but it's not, I wouldn't say this is lightly inflated. It's like a strong moderate. So hopefully that gives you an idea, but it's like not quite as much as like a bike tire, but yeah, a little bit less than that. So let's see. We'll do a little more in the chat. Darren, thank you. All right. Parked at a Big 5 to get an exercise ball. Nice. Amanda Lee, do you have program synopsis for docs, local PTs? I'm starting a hypermobility and pain program in Boston and would love to be able to share this with my PTs, OTs there. What do you mean by a program synopsis? That's something that I've been kind of trying to figure out, is how this could be shared with other professionals. So what do you mean by synopsis? We'd love some feedback on that, Amanda. M47, boxing, jogging, running. Okay, yeah, boxing for sure, because you're always up on your toes. You're like jumping rope, you know. So that'll definitely be a thing. I have experienced that myself. Dr. Andre, greetings from Germany. All right, love it. Got German in the family. So yeah, my grandma's from Frankfurt. So love to hear that. And yeah, greetings from across the world. Happy to have you here. Okay, so let's, while I wait for Amanda's response, let's go back to the slides. I'm going to look at a question from another Ashley. This one is, I believe, this is posted in the Student Hub. Can I do the perfect bridge if I'm not able to march in place in lesson 3? That would be day 3. That's the back anchor progression with the marching. I think it's going to take me time to get enough core strength to do a good bridge. That's totally okay, and that's probably true, Amanda or Ashley. So, so it's Ashley here, and it's Amanda in the chat. So there we go, different names. So yeah, totally okay, Ashley. I'm not sure if I can work on the marching in place and bridge at the same time, or if I need to be able to do one before I start the other. I had diastasis recti repair a few years ago, so I'm really detached from my core, and I think I'm going to be slow to progress. That's okay, Ashley. Very common. I've torn my abdominals. It was not diastasis recti, but it was a traumatic tear from being crazy when I was younger. And yes, that absolutely has a major long-term impact on your connection to your abdominal muscles. Typically when there's a trauma like that, the body loses connection with it to try and let it heal, but you don't spontaneously get that back. So you're going to have to do active things to get that core connection, that neuromuscular connection back to those abdominal muscles. And I think this program is a great thing for diastasis recti, just to do a low intensity abdominal training where it's not going to make it worse, right? So the answer to your original question, Ashley, is yes, you can simultaneously work on the bridge and the back anchor progression. I think the back anchor progression is something you can just continue to work on throughout the entire program. And you can go on to do the bridge because it's both legs supported in the bridge. until we get to the single leg bridge, it's going to be a little bit of a different exercise. And you're not working those side to side core muscles that will hold you up when you lift one leg off the ground. And so we're more working on the front to back, front of body, back to body, back of body with the bridge. And when you're doing the marching, it's adding that side to side component. And so they're kind of two different things, and one is not a prerequisite for another. So absolutely, yes, you can work on both at the same time. And keep working on it, because that is going to be very beneficial for you to make progress, Ashley. Next question from Julia. I have L4, 5, and S1 stenosis and degeneration. I've been through many years of chiro, many rounds of PT, pelvic floor, injections. Now you're told surgery. My pain starts all around my tailbone, follows down under my buttocks to the outside of my hips, and then down the center of the back of my thighs. Wow, what a pathway. This becomes over the top painful at times and makes it hard to walk. After following your program for some time, I'm not even sure that the stenosis and degeneration are causing much of my pain. Can there be any relief or solution for this? And can you help me understand what's going on? I'm going to have to really dive in and reread this to kind of work out in my head, Julia. So and everybody who's still here alive, let's do this together. So L4, 5, and S1 stenosis, degeneration, and you've been through all kinds of stuff, and so your pain starts all around your tailbone, follows down under your buttocks to the outside of your hips, okay, then down the center of the backs of your thighs. This becomes over the top painful. So, there's a nerve pathway. And I have this chart over here. I'm going to go grab it for you. Hold on. Go full screen. So we're going to look at nerves. Here's nerve pathways. So there's nothing that kind of goes out that way and down. But there's something that goes above the buttocks. That's L5. L5 and S1. But the ones underneath the tailbone, hopefully you guys can see this. We're looking at that. And there's a lot of glare, sorry. And then over here, we can see that there's some different pathways of the nerves. And so I need to pull this back and read. So that is posterior femoral cutaneous. S2, 3. Okay, so here's my conclusion. It sounds to me like you have multiple nerves involved. And so, Julia, it's potential that is because you have tailbone pain, that actually the nerves go the problem goes below down into S2, 3, 4, and because those were the patterns that I'm seeing in the chart. And you've seen a pelvic floor specialist, so I have questions for you. My question is, what did they discover? What did they find? I'm going to assume that there is some chronic muscle tension in your pelvic floor muscles, and those could be affecting the nerves. Those could be compressing nerves down there and causing that pattern of pain to go around your buttocks that way. And there will be other nerves like L5 that would be going down, I think you said, down the center backs of your thighs. So actually, S1 is center backs of your thighs. So that would be in alignment with, potential SI joint problems and tailbone and pelvic floor issues. So those are my thoughts. And yeah, so pelvic health, pelvic floor, physical therapy. If you haven't seen a pelvic health specialist in physical therapy, that's one of the things I would recommend is they do manual work on those muscles. It's invasive. It's personal, but it's highly effective. And we're going to have a pelvic health specialist on the stream here pretty soon. And so hopefully that you can tune in when that happens. I don't know what week that's going to happen, but I'm excited for that. And so we'll talk about this kind of thing. I might even bring up this question on that stream and get her thoughts. So stay tuned. And my answer to like what should I do, Julia, is it sounds like you've been in the program for a while, and if there have been anything that has been helpful at all, I would double down, triple down on those things. And if there are things that don't seem like they're helping, or if there are things that seem like they're even hurting, let go. This is more of a unique condition, unique situation than the typical student that goes through the program, and do less of the things that don't seem like they're helping, or even potentially if there are things that are causing your pain to flare up. You got to get that journal and learn about your body and follow that general rule. More of what's working and less of what's hurting. So this is the last question. We'll take a quick look into the chat, try and prioritize people that are here live. So let's see. Amanda, I guess maybe your clinical outline of exercise series and reasoning. Yeah, okay. I do have an outline which we can put out. It's in the program, so people who are students in the program can see the outline. We haven't really put it like out on the website, but that's definitely something we can do. And reasoning is a good point. I'm going to asterisk that for me because we use a language in the program that was kind of invented for the program, so people wouldn't know what I'm talking about. So I do have to put that reasoning in there. Massage therapy better than PT notes-wise. I know massage therapy better than PT notes-wise. Oh, okay. All right. So, or maybe a way to have that sent to local practitioners directly from you if that's not too much disclosure otherwise. Just guessing with regard to intellectual property as well. Yeah, it's a fine line to dance, but ultimately this program's so big that it would be quite hard for people to like copy it. So I'm not too worried about that. It's something, when you're on the internet, it's something to think about for sure. There's tons of, I don't know, really advanced scammers out there. They could just completely copy everything. But if I'm showing doctors around town, I'm not too worried about that. CBT live notes for an additional question that came through the inbox. Okay, will do, Osti. Thank you. Let's go to the last question in the slides from Tawny. The squat is awesome. I understand that right now I'm to be working on realigning and strengthening my core. In thinking ahead, though, I'm curious about how to use the squat in a task that requires using my arms and hands in front of me. Picture picking up green beans in the garden or squatting to pull a weed. When I do a deep squat, for whatever reason, I cannot keep the weight on my heels. I end up on the balls of my feet, calf muscles not stretchy enough. The answer is pretty much yes to that. It's not only the calf muscles, Tawny, it's also just your heel cord, your Achilles tendon, and also additionally, and maybe the most influential, is ankle mobility, not necessarily muscular lengthening of the calf muscles, but the joint, the bones. Are they gliding properly over each other so that your ankle can flex enough to keep your heel down? So yeah, that's those are pretty much the three factors to being able to keep your heels down. And it is an important thing to be able to do, so you can work on those things and you can gain that ability. I can do a whole live stream on squatting, deep squats and functional squats. We have a very large vegetable garden and flower garden throughout the property, and doing this pain-free is my goal. I know this program is going to be key in helping me out, but I'm wondering about implementing the squat during harvesting and weeding. So the deep squat is an interesting position because it's extreme. Your hips are in extreme flexion and even a little bit of extra rotation. And so when you're at end range of motion like that, it's hard to connect with your muscles because they're at certain muscles are going to be at full length, and that's not where they function optimally. They function optimally in the middle of their ranges of motion. And so the deep squat is mostly, I would consider it to be a resting position, but because of your ankle mobility, for all the three reasons I spoke about, you're not able to rest in that position because you're up on the balls of your feet, and that requires balance, and that requires your calf muscles are actually working, and the muscles in the front of your shins, your tibialis anterior, are working, and you're not resting. So you're in a resting position, an extreme position, but not resting. And so I think ankle mobility is definitely going to be a factor for you, Tawny. And once you get that down, then we can talk about, once you can get your heels down, a trick that I use when my ankles are tight, because I have a lot of ankle history from basketball, is I will start on a downward slant. So on a driveway or a steep, like a hill, if I'm out hiking, and I'll just squat on that. So I have my heels down because the downward slant opens up your ankles, and you can keep your heels down and practice there. And then less slant, work your way up to less slant. We do a lot of gardening here, and we do a lot of picking weeds as well. And if I'm not on a slanted surface, like you're probably not going to be on all the time, then I will put something under my heel. So like a rock or whatever you can find around you, throw that under a board under both your heels. And so they're equal with each other, but they're higher than the balls of your feet. And that'll allow you to do a deep squat and sit on your heels with your heels in contact. And that's a good training ground. And then you want to work your way towards a flat surface. Then we can talk about how once you're able to relax in that position, then we can talk about how this could be beneficial to your lower back and the focusing on the core. But I think it's going to be really hard to focus on your core when you got so much tension going on in your ankles and your feet to be able to do this. So, yep, that would be step one, Tawny, and hopefully that helps. And I think this will be a good stream. Now that I'm doing like live demonstrations every stream, I think this would be a good stream topic, is the deep squat and also just a functional squat. So thank you for that, Tawny, and more to come with that. So let's look at, I forgot to show the slide. There's the slide, but I read her question, and that was the last slide for the day. So let's take a look in the chat, and it says live notes. So I do have one more question. And somebody wrote, I have hard lower back pain, no one to do, nothing, pain relief, I need help. Okay. I can't pronounce your name because I can't read that language, but definitely check out the content on our channel, and hopefully you can find some resources to start with. And there's a lot out there. There's a lot you can discover about yourself. All right, so CBT live notes from N. That's from today. Okay, so I guess I can just show this. Yeah, I can show this. Here's the question. And that seems all right. So this is from Anne. She says, one thing I've had problems with is mid-back muscle pain. It actually increased and spread after the recent surgery, and I had hoped that this program, as well as slowly strengthening my lat muscles, would help with that pain. First comment to you, Anne, is typically the lat muscles are already kind of overactive, and they're a very superficial power muscle. So typically those muscles are not going to be ones that I'm going to focus on strengthening if I'm trying to improve my posture and core. Typically we want to get to the deeper muscles underneath those. So that's point number one. You say, unfortunately, it has not, and my doctors seem to not understand it either. Strength does not seem to be the issue. Only certain movements or sitting in certain chairs that other people find comfortable seems to cause it. Okay, so that's going to be something, a huge factor for you, Anne, is Don't sit in those chairs. Don't even try. Don't try to be able to sit in those chairs like the other people. Don't compare yourself to the other people. Your body's telling you that it doesn't like it. So listen to your body. Find other ways to sit. And if you have no way that you can sit, which is how I used to be, then variety, constantly changing your position, is going to be a strategy to get you to the point where you can reach enough muscular balance and healing in your body that you can later sit. Once you can get to that point, where I have gotten at times in my life and am at right now. I'm not immune to setbacks, but then you work again. You work yourself back there again. So here you're saying, for example, the front anchor progression on all fours where you lift an arm and alternating legs. So that's the front anchor's challenge. That arm movement, just a few times, the first time I tried it, caused me days of pain. But other movements using those same muscles do not cause me pain. I work in a lab and have had this mid-back muscle pain while I work at my lab bench, even after adjusting the bench and chair, although the computer desk work is just fine. Oh, interesting. So I'm imagining when you work at a lab, you're doing more looking down. So it would be more extreme than working at a computer, potentially. Just not figuring out what will solve the problem. The stretching that you had in the programs has been helpful with these muscles, so I will continue them, and I will continue to strengthen. Okay. All right, so I think you have some decent insight into what's going on, and the first thing I want to say is that I agree with you that most likely strength is not the issue. I think often we have plenty of strength. It's just distributed throughout the body in certain muscles more than in other muscles, and that's the imbalance. So we want to be able to kind of use the body more synergistically rather than heavily using, say, the lats or the hip flexors or the mid-back muscles, the upper back muscles to hold yourself up, that the curve of the muscle usage is more evenly distributed rather than like this. And that goes along with muscular balance. That goes along with muscular movement retraining, the regrooving, the movement patterns, and the posture, and trying to kind of more evenly use the muscles that you use to hold yourself up. So that's one factor. Another thing is not so much strength, but endurance of those muscles to be able to go throughout your day, because strength can happen in a second. So you might have incredible strength in a certain muscle, but no endurance in that muscle to be able to do what we call life, activities of daily living. And so it's not the strength that's the issue. It's the ability for that muscle to, like your core muscles, to be able to maintain a connection. It's one thing to be able to do a sit-up, even hold weights on your chest and do a crazy sit-up. You could hold 100 pounds, but can you maintain that low-level core connection with those muscles for 15 straight minutes and do, say, gardening, or be using looking down at whatever type of lab that you're in. So that's another factor. So endurance, muscular balance, endurance. And then the other thing I wanted to just mention is you're trying to solve the problem of how to sit. What is the type of way that you can sit? And I think that the solution is not one way to sit, but many different variations of being able to get through your workday. So maybe part of it is sitting, maybe part of it is standing, and not finding the perfect adjustment in your chair. So this is another thing that I've talked about in the past. This is kind of like trying to find the perfect back support for your chair. Notice I don't even use a back support, but say I had a backrest here and I found one of those wedge cushions to put behind my back for back support. I'm like, which is the best wedge cushion that I could use? And the answer is, well, all of them will probably be effective for a period of time, maybe for a half hour or for 2 hours. But at a certain point, none of them are going to be able to keep you out of pain for an indefinite period of time, because it's not the position that's pain-free. It's the changing position and doing something different. So that back support's going to give you a little of relief because it's different than the repetitive way you've been doing it for a long time. And then you can move and change position and do another thing. So in that sense, you can apply, you're talking about adjusting your bench and your chair. Maybe just try changing the adjustments frequently. If it's easy to do, you don't have to pull out a wrench and a screwdriver, but just flip a switch and move the chair back up a little bit for 15 minutes, then back down, all the way down, and then stand up for a little bit, put one leg up on your stool, and get through your day through variety. And that will help you get to the point where your body actually can heal through that movement and the blood flow that comes with it and the oxygen that comes with that to the tissues and the muscles. So that's my recommendation to you, Anne. I'm glad you reached out about it. I have a whole stream on sitting strategy and a video on it, so you can check those out from the channel. I will take a look in the chat. Chris Manhart, very important question. Who is your pick for March Madness? Oh, gosh. I'm embarrassed, but I'm going to be fully honest and say I have no idea because I haven't been paying attention this year. I do pay attention to the NBA a little bit, but just in general, I pay so much less attention to professional sports than I used to. I pay attention to baseball, surfing. Surfing is on the Pro Tour right now. They just surfed in Portugal, and I watched that, and a little bit of NBA. But college, man, I've fully fallen off that train. So sorry, Chris. I'm just going to have to go with UCLA because that's the team that I have kind of supported my whole life. And I have no idea if they're good or not. And Ellen says, and another important question, how's Marina feeling and when's the baby due? Marina's feeling extremely pregnant. She is 38 or 39 weeks today. We don't know, depending. Our medical doctor says 39 weeks today. Our midwife says 38 weeks today. They have different due dates for us. So we'll say 38 and a half, which is pretty much exactly 9 months pregnant. So she's feeling extremely pregnant. If she's watching right now, she's probably laughing. But yeah, lots more grunts and noises coming out of her than I've ever heard. So baby is due either March 22nd or March 29th, depending on who you talk to. So that's it for today, guys. Lots of questions, lots of activity in the chat. Thank you all for being here. I love seeing the people show up for themselves live. If you enjoyed the stream or anything about it, feel free to hit that like button. Don't be shy. Tap that little button and help support the stream, help support core balance training, get spread to more people on YouTube. I guess that's how the algorithm works. The other algorithm I know of is just share it with your friends and family. You can send them the link, and that's a pretty good algorithm too. So thanks again, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Ellen, for checking in with my family, and we are both very excited as well. And until next time, get down on the floor and connect to your core. I will see you guys next week, and I don't have a topic yet, so feel free to make suggestions. You can comment below in the chat.